Do you guys remember at the beginning of this case what I said? I said a source from a hospital contacted me. As a popular journalist that you are, Kemi lawyer, Mohbad was brought in here dead, and he had drugs in his system. He had opiates in his system. Did I or did I not say it, people? From the beginning of this case, did I not say that a hospital contacted me and told me that there were opiates in his system and he was already dead? I said it. After I said it, another nurse showed up saying that Juju killed him. I gave him this injection, he was not responding. I gave him this, he was not responding. It was like Juju. We were trying to treat him for malaria. Remember the nurse that went live, the quack nurse? She's the one that killed him. I said this stuff and you didn't listen. Let me just basically brief you on what killed Mohbad. His death certificate is going to read a drug interaction countercoupled by a drug overdose. That's what CPO said on the press conference. Did you see the picture that he showed of Mohbad's hand and the Jeep? This is why the three men inside the car were crying and they were sad. Those three guys in the car are actually now not complicit. Ade West and the two. Naramali and Sam, whatever his name, Larry, they're not complicit to his death. But they're going to investigate them on the bullying side. Those guys are going to go and bring their heavy lawyers, and it would not even carry water. Because Oro Timothy saw Lati Joy Funi Lo Shele. Listen. I'm so glad I've not written their articles in the US paper, because I told those ones today they will be written on the weekend, so now I can read it first. First, I want to thank all my fans, those of you that come here to come and believe in my work. Cubana Chief Priest, Zlatan, Bella Schmurder, everybody, 26 witnesses, they have all spoken to police. All the time I was shouting their names, go to police, they went eventually. So Bereko promoter, they went eventually. This is a story that haunts me so bad because it happened in my family. Kunle Olunloyo, my cousin in America, that was on the streets with some drug dealers in Chicago in the 80s. Those drug dealers, two of them, the police wanted to arrest them. And the brother was telling me that he had nothing to do with the drugs. It was just on the street. They were all chilling on the street. Okay, but the police wanted to arrest one of the drug dealers. So everybody entered the car and they started speeding and they left. As they were speeding, the police was speeding behind them. They did not stop for the police, so they crashed. When they brought everybody out of the car, Kunle was unconscious. When Kunle was rushed to the hospital, okay, they had handcuffs on him and all the others. They took the handcuffs off and they had to rush him into emergency surgery. The police already arrested all of them, but even though they're in the hospital, there will be police officers outside the door. When they started the surgery for Kunle Olunloyo, my cousin, the anesthesiologist walked in and administered an anesthesia so they can begin the surgery right away. It was an emergency. He went to overcome my cousin with anesthesia. It was too much. He measured it wrong and he killed my cousin. Kunle died. Kunle's wife, Brenda, Oyibo lady, sued the hospital, won $6 million. This happened in the 80s. And the doctor was removed, license removed. This is what happened to Mohbad. Mohbad was on drugs. Molio, tramadol. There was a cocktail of drugs, which is consistent to what the Perez source told me. This young man had drugs in his system. I said, what about his heart function? He said, he's already dead. Probably had something that had to do with his heart, but it was drugs, so it could have been a drug overdose. That's what I said, but I was attacked. On the night of the concert, as they were leaving the concert, do you know how an artist feels? They're hyped up, they're hyper. Mohbad had no shirt on. The jeep that they hired to take Mohbad to the event and back was now getting ready to leave the concert venue. Wo, that CP Owo, Lagos State CP, he's an excellent guy. The kind of press conference I saw today, you wouldn't even know it's Nigeria. A Canadian journalist watched it with me. When they got to the concert, when they finished the concert and they were leaving, the fans were there. They wanted to see Mohbad. They were happy to see Mohbad because of what Mohbad has been through with Malian music and all the wahala. So the fans went all to around Jeep here. The fans went to troop around the Jeep, wanted to get a glimpse of Mohbad. What Mohbad was going to do was stand inside the Jeep with the sunroof off and be waving to the fans. The area boys blocked them. You know area boys, if you don't give them money, they won't let you go. So the area boys blocked them. The fans were around. The whole Jeep was surrounded. Prime Boy, the one they arrested, was now telling him, no, don't go up there. Don't go up there. It's dangerous. You don't know. Anyone can shoot him. Get down. Don't do that thing that you stand on the thing. In the process, he was hyper and he was incoherent. The drugs, the molly, the tramadol, all the drugs in his system, he was hyped up. A lot of artists have to use drugs to perform. And we keep telling them this. You don't need it to perform. So these drugs were. He was high. So, he was so angry at Prime Boy, he punched Prime Boy. So that one was trying to like contain him, but to contain him, he had to punch him back. Do you understand when you are punching a police officer? How do you think the police officer is going to respond to you? This is a police officer that doesn't have gun. How does a police officer that doesn't have gun respond to someone punching them? He will not have to punch the person back and subdue them. That was what Prime Boy was doing. In the process of subduing Mohbad, because he was high on drugs, they were trying to protect him, he now punched Prime Boy, missing Prime Boy, and punching the Jeep. The picture was bad. His fist, this right here, punched right through the Jeep. So, Ibiti window ti lọ sí ara mọ́tò. You know where the window, when you wind down the car, you don't have anything, but you have the body of the car. You know where you wind down the car that the window now becomes the metal of the car. That is where he punched in. So there was glass fragments in his hand and metal fragments from the car. The owner of the Jeep said he will pay for it when the driver called that one to say, they've damaged the car. The injury was too much. So they now carried him home. The hand was bleeding. Throughout the night of the 10th, after the concert, remember what I said in my investigation? Where are you bringing Mohbad from? Remember those boys in the car, they never spoke. They never spoke. Very Dark Black Man did a good job, but they were talking to police already. Okay? Put that DNA thing aside for a second. There's a DNA test, but let's talk about Mohbad. Because the case has changed. It's not a justice for Mohbad case anymore. It's something else now. So, Mohbad's hand was bleeding. No, you have to see the pictures, though. Honestly, somebody should post it. You know, Nigerian media, very daft. CPO will put the picture like this, be showing everybody. Some of them would have snapped it, but somebody's supposed to say, put it on the table so that we can all come and snap after. Let's hope we see it online. I'm thinking the Sahara boys that were there will do that for us. But at the end of the day, by the 11th, the hand kept bleeding. Mohbad was told by his family and his wife, everybody, to go to the hospital. He refused. He did not want to go to the hospital. What was in the hospital that kept Mohbad from going to the hospital? Do you know what it was? Do you guys know what it was? The drugs in his system. The hospital would have detected it. And if the hospital detected the drugs in his system, he could be arrested again. He doesn't want to be arrested by the NDLA. He doesn't need all that. Don't you understand? Some things when you go into the hospital, they documented right away. That's why Mohbad did not want to go to the hospital. The hand kept bleeding. On the morning of the second day, early hours of the 12th, Mohbad's hand was infected. We have metal, we have glass inside this. And it was getting very painful. The pain was too much. So, Mohbad has a nurse that treats him privately. Okay? Some nurses do what they call private duty. And if you know private duty in America is big money for the nurses, even in the UK. Okay? Wumi tried to take him to the hospital, but he declined. You guys understand what I'm talking about. There was drugs in the system. Hospital, detect. The minute they take your urine, they will see that you're on drugs. Before you know it, everybody knows you're on drugs, and they will name the drugs that they find in the system. Ultimately, we go to the police. Ultimately, the owner of the jeep will sue for his jeep, and then they will say he's on drugs. And do you not see what I'm saying? I'm only telling you what was on the press conference, and I believe it 100%. I don't know what Prime Boy said in all his interview. But whatever he said, I'm now going to go and watch his interview again. Now, guys, I only watched one segment. There's like 4. Because CVC was releasing it small by small. Now, people, there's a lot of people in here. There's a lot of media in here. I'm seeing them in here. Now, a lot of people have to speak out in the coming days, and they're medical professionals in Nigeria. Okay, some of them will be calling me now to come on their live space and everything. So basically, what happened to Mohbad? The second day, they called Fumi, Mohbad's private nurse. Fumi was not available. She was not even in town. So a person by the name of Ayobami Sodiq, they call his name Spending. I think that's what I heard to my head. Spending, as you're spending money. Spending, a friend of Mohbad. Okay. Spending now say, let me get my own nurse. That's when they call Feyi Shayo Ogedengbe. The cause of death to Mohbad was what the nurse injected to him. If what happened to Mohbad happened in a hospital and he died, that's life. Yes, that's life. But because it was injected by Feyi Shayo Ogedengbe, then there's a culpable homicide there. Culpable homicide. They need to bring out a lot of lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, because she was an auxiliary nurse and she was not in the position to administer the drug she administered. You know what they call auxiliary? Even me that I'm sitting here, I was an auxiliary police officer in Toronto Police as a volunteer. Auxiliary officers. I can wear we wore the police uniform safe. Some of you have seen my police uniform. You wear the police uniform, everything like police, but I cannot hold a gun. Auxiliary nurses have only limited powers. She was trained at one hospital in Ogun State, and the Ogun State hospital has also testified. They've gone to the police, they've interviewed all the CMDs, the Perez Hospital, the Ogun State Hospital, everything. But the Ogun State CMD said, yes, she trained here, but she wasn't in capacity to give certain things. This is what happens when everybody's playing doctor. Artist so. Legalized pharmacy. The only person they did not carry here is the pharmacist. And the pharmacist may not be liable, but in this case, they haven't mentioned the pharmacist because this is something happening in Nigeria every day. People going into pharmacy and asking for injectables, and they claim they're working in the clinic next door. So this is why NAFDAC needs to now regulate pharmacy. This is why I never practice pharmacy in Nigeria. Everybody's going in to ask for what they want. Pharmacy is not regulated. So after the fist and the injury in their hand kept bleeding, it started getting infected. She administered, let me tell you the drugs she administered to Mohbad. First, you have to get this Naira Marley, Sam Larry, even Prime Boy, and this somebody paid her to kill. So remember the question that Naira Marley asked. Naira Marley said, who said it was an ear infection? Who paid Instablog? You know now, we now know that's a lie. So Naira Marley is correct on that. Who paid Instablog? And also, Naira Marley said, where was it coming from? Where were they taking? Naira Marley had valid questions. You see that? Go and listen to what Daddy Free said. We'll be making all these assumptions, and we don't know that our assumptions are wrong. The second day when the hand was bleeding, auxiliary nurse Feyi Ogedengbe went to procure these medications. They gave him cetrazone intravenous, paracetamol intravenous, iodine for the wound, diclofenac, inflammation, tetanus, toxins, and procaine. Let me tell you what those are. Are you ready? Procaine is anesthetic to help numb the pain. He was really in pain. Tetanus injection. is to prevent tetanus and more infection. If you have deep cuts or deep wounds, tetanus injection. What happened to Mohbad should be done in a clinical setting. Can you have foot surgery in the house? If my doctor says let's do your foot surgery, Kemi, in your house, I will say no, we're doing it inside that theater. Some things are not meant for house. Diclofenac injection, anti-inflammatory. It's supposed to help with the inflammation that happens. I'm dealing with my swollen feet right now. I'm on diclofenac 75 and the rub. She had the right combination of drugs, except for one drug. Iodine, the wound. Paracetamol, pain. Adjunct pain. Adjunct pain means when the bigger painkillers are not working, she can now use the paracetamol. So she was given that IV. She had everything together. Cetrazone is what killed Mohbad. Ceftriaxone. As soon as she gave the cetrazone IV, he had what they call an anaphylactic reaction. Most of you are replying to each other, you're not even listening. Mohbad had what they call an anaphylactic reaction. Anaphylaxis. Once you have anaphylaxis, you're reacting extremely violently to a drug. You stop breathing. So when he stopped breathing, he was literally dead. When Faye noticed that he stopped breathing, he told the whole family that Mohbad has died. He did not react well to the drug. She actually did her job. The only problem is that she had no authority to dispense ceftriaxone intravenously. She made a mistake there. That line should not have been there. The IV line should not have been there. That's what you guys call drip line. Anaphylaxis is what killed Mohbad. Okay, she should have given the ceftriaxone by injection, but she went and infused it. She infused it with paracetamol. Let me tell you something right now. If Faye Ogedengbe gets off and they acquit her in the courts, and that's what's going to happen. I hate to tell you. Okay, remember what happened to Adeleke's nurse? The nurse that injected Sherubami, Davido's uncle, former governor, former senator. That's the same thing. We went to the trial and he was acquitted. The reason why this lady is going to be acquitted is a thin line, and it's right there. You have to be intelligent. You know why? If I was the one that was doing nurse that day, I would give the ceftriaxone IM, intramuscular injection, instead of IV. The IV was delivering the drugs. Mohbad reacted to it, and they were not in a clinical setting. If they were in a clinical setting, inside a hospital, they'll do a mayday. Other doctors will come and they'll revive him right away, but they were inside the house. So now that he was almost like what I would call half dead, Mohbad was already 80% dead. No, Mohbad was 90% dead. That's when they were filming him, and then his neck moved. He was about to cross the road to heaven there. And those ones stopped filming. So those guys did nothing wrong. They didn't want to tell you what happened. Guys, you know what really killed him? I'm not saying he can't be given IV. Okay? First of all, she was an auxiliary nurse. She shouldn't be running that line. She should have another nurse supervising her. An auxiliary nurse, okay? What do they call them in America? LPN. She should have a registered nurse, okay? An RN should be supervising her. This is Nigeria where you get anything you want. So now they want to put the law on her. Unfortunately, she had the right combination of drugs. She went to the pharmacy, she bought everything. She had the right combination of drugs. Unfortunately, Mohbad reacted to the ceftriaxone and he died. And do you know why Mohbad had the anaphylactic reaction? Because before you give ceftriaxone, a cephalosporin drug, you must ask a patient what else they are on. Because if the reaction happens, you will kill them. Or in a clinical setting, the doctor will have said, what is he on? Mistake. Mohbad didn't want to go to the hospital. What was he on? The Molly, the Tramadol, and everything else that was in his system is what killed him. So I was right. He died of a drug overdose. The ceftriaxone had a drug-drug interaction with the opiates in his system, and he died. That's what killed him.